What is up, everybody? Happy Friday and all of the above. We made it through another work week, the longest work week of the year because everyone decided to circle back. Everybody decided to be back at work, and yeah, wasn't looking forward to that at all. Not at all. So, I told you I would come in at 7 ish. This is like the ish of 7. It's more like 7:43. So, you know, we here. So, um, but yeah, so I wanted to just come on this live because I told myself one of my goals this year was to go live at least once a month to just talk about stuff. So we'll talk about create mostly creative stuff. So like, because all we do with the create as well is talk about creatives being refreshed, renewed, revitalized for their God given purposes. So you can go out and do the things that God's called you to do. So we're gonna talk about God. We're gonna talk about creativity. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna play some games. We're gonna do some giveaways. We're gonna just do some things. That's essentially what we'll be doing. So tonight I'm just here to just hang out with whoever is here. Obviously, a little later than expected. Um, but oh wait, hold on. Someone just sent me something. I don't know what to tell them about that. I don't know. Sorry. Hold on. This is the joy of live production. Oh yeah, yeah. That's there. Anyway, cool. So, like I said, we're here. we're here. We're here, and we're gonna have some fun. So, anybody who's here, say what's up. Any other things, blah blah. So, what I want to talk about tonight is today is January 10th. January 10th is known as National Quitting Day. National Quitting Day is for those who have New Year's resolutions. Historically, I guess people quit their resolutions by now. I thought they would at least made it to January 31st, but apparently this is National Quitting Day. So most people only make it to the 10th. So my thing for creatives and entrepreneurs, visionaries, all of them, like we've decided that we're going to do these things this year, right? So whatever the thing is, so whether it's starting a new business, relaunching your business, getting booked, whatever the case is, a lot of times the momentum can be kind of quelled by now, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. But um, a lot of people go through that. And so my thing is like, I don't want people to quit. I want people to be able to start. And so I'll come on here from time to time to just do various like impromptu coaching sessions, if you will, because a lot of times you just need somebody else's perspective, somebody else who's done something like you've done, right? And so I've had the opportunity to do many of things, right? I've done many of jobs in my lifetime as a creative and a business owner. When I first started JR Consulting, I did some of everything. So I did payroll. I was cutting grass. I was um, I was hiring people. I was tutoring, like literally anything you could think of was under JR Consulting. Like I did some of everything. So eventually, um, I decided it would be best to actually, uh, what's the word, niche down on something so I could actually be known for something. And the thing that I really loved was the event producing, the event planning, the bringing people together for whatever purpose. But it wasn't just like, and even now, I've never had a sold out event of my own doing, right? I've produced sold out events for other people, but as far as me, like, I've never had a sold out event. So it's very easy for me to consider quitting, right? And I know that that's the case for a lot of people. In addition to like just all of that, I've done a whole bunch of other random stuff, so I have a lot of experience to help you on your journey to not quit, because that's essentially what the issue here is. Like, you get stuck and you just don't know what to do. You don't know what the pivot is. You don't know what the answer is. You don't know what the solution is. So you make the solution to just be quitting. And that's not the solution. Like, the solution is to continue, but it's more so like, how do you continue? How does one continue when everything looks like it's against you? How does one continue when nobody's booking you? And that's the big thing. So if you have questions, if you're whatever, I want you to drop them in there. But I also want to talk to us about making your own opportunities. So this is something that has come up a lot this week for me, between myself, between other people, just this concept of people waiting for other people to create the what you need. And the fact of the matter is people aren't going to come to save you, right? I don't know who said that. It's some quote from somewhere, right? Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to fix the situation, whatever it is. You have to learn to get out of your own way and create your own way. So, for the artists that are out there, like, learn to do your own show. Your own show doesn't have to have your first show that you do doesn't have to have LED walls. It doesn't have to have smoke. It doesn't have to have lights and all this cameras and all the stuff that, like, in our mind gives us success, right? When I look at the pictures of my first show, which was Carol's Four Calls, it was an amazing show. We had a great time. That was in 2019. Had a whole lot of fun there. But when I look back at it, like, and this is nothing against, shout out to 50. She was the one who did the stage design, but like, she did the curtain and the curtain was drooping a little bit in the middle. Like, looking back at it, would have never done that now, right? Granted, also the building that we have now has an LED wall, so we don't have to worry about we don't have to worry about what's it called? Um, what is that word called? Oh, decorations and decor as much. But that wasn't the case at first. And if we did not have the LED wall now, we would still have to I would still have to figure out like what I would do to find whatever solution to um like the decor or whatever to make it look like something that's exciting to look at, something that looks like it's worthwhile looking at and all the things. So that's essentially where I want us to think about, like, doing that first thing, because people really what's the word, people subscribe to momentum. So if you've got momentum, if you're doing something already, that it's easier for people to see you to be booked. Here's the thing: when you do your first show, when you do your first event, when you put out your first artwork, whatever it is, nobody has to know that nobody attended in like the first event, right? Like, luckily, and I knock on wood, Lord please, I've never had an event where nobody showed up, right? I've had some low attended events, but I've never had an event where we're under 10 people. No, like under 20 actually. I've never had an event where under 20 people who weren't like on staff or whatever, like were part of the event, came to the event. So I've always had 20, at least 20 people. Here's the thing: you get a good camera operator, you get some good photos, people don't know that there's only 20 people there. People don't know that there's only 30, 40, 50 people there, whatever the case is. And here's the other thing: respect and love and cultivate your audience. People don't want to necessarily be a part of something that they feel like you only care about them as a number, right? So one thing I started thinking about is that, like, because my life is, I won't say strange, but like, I've done Poets in Autumn, I've done We Need to Talk, I've done these big tours that have over 1,000 people in every city. So like, and sold out, and sells out quickly. Like, you put the tickets up for sale and people are like, boom, I'm coming. Whereas when I do my events, it's like, hey, you coming? Please come, type of thing. Like, hey, I would love for you to show up. I would love for you to be there, blah, blah. So like, the thing of the matter here is that there are people that are coming to your event, and they're there for you to serve them. Like, they're there for you to do whatever, right? Like, I talk a lot about events because events is what I do. But if you're a graphic designer, if you're a video producer, if you're whatever, that one person that sees the video that you created, that one person that sees the painting that you painted, or like, sculpted, if it was a sculpture, whatever the creative medium that you use, those people are looking for that thing, and they are being benefited and loving that thing. So never slight your audience, no matter how big or how small it is. That's the first thing, because people can tell if all you're interested in is numbers, right? Like, I'm not gonna lie, I look for numbers not so much because I want a huge crowd, but I'm looking to pay these bills back. Like, for the events, I'm a math guy, I'm a numbers guy. So to me, I need to know like, hey, people equals ticket sales equals revenue, which equals putting money back in the budget, right? And shout out to my mom. She has been in every event. I just saw her. She said I'm always going to be there. I appreciate it. And she be on the front row, and she participates in the games. She's great. To be honest, y'all should come to the events to interact with her. She is the star of the show at times. Um, but yeah, so when you have your audience or you have your few likes or your few shares or whatever, like it's still benefiting somebody, and at the end you did it, so nobody can ever take that away from you. But what people can say about you is that you've never done anything. And so, as creatives, as entrepreneurs, as whoever, like if you're waiting for hundreds and thousands of, well, just let's start slower, hundreds of followers or hundreds of people or hundreds of shares, hundreds of likes before you release your, your clothing item, your apparel item, your event, your whatever creative medium it is, if you're waiting for that before you actually go and do said thing, that's not cool. Like you're never gonna get to the point where people know who you are because there's no motion, right? Like hip hop culture, like towards the end of the year, people are like, I want a man or a woman with motion, right? I want a creative in motion. Like I want to see a creative in motion. Like where is your motion? Where is your going forward, right? And it's so easy, again, to have these amazing resolutions on December 31st and the 1st and the 2nd. And then here it is, January 10th, National Quitting Day, where people will literally decide, I'm not doing this anymore. And the downside of that is like, if you don't push forward, we'll never see how good it gets. We'll never see who shares your stuff. You'll never see who interacts with it. So if I decided to stop doing my events now because, they're still not sold out, we never know who would come, who might come alongside to sponsor, who might come alongside to partner, right? So I'm saying all that because I just want us to do better, essentially. Like, as creatives, I want us to do better. I want us to, like, I want us to do more. I want us to go forth. And so, like I said, if you got questions, share the live, share the video with whoever. If you come back to this at another time and you got questions, hit me up tonight. It's free. If you're asking me questions, I got you here. But if you ask me later, you're gonna have to go to that calendar link in my bio and get a $50 consultation. But it's an hour. It's an hour with you and me dedicated, and I walk you through whatever you need to walk through. Again, I've done like all sorts of stuff. I've done tours. I work in music. I've honestly worked in most creative fields, not necessarily as the person, but like working in it. So I've worked with dancers before. I've worked with musicians. I've worked with singers. I've worked with speakers. I've worked with podcasters. I've worked with visual people, whether it's videographers, photographers, cinematographers. Like I've done a web series under my belt. Like I've done YouTube of myself. I've done YouTube for other people. I produce talk shows. Like, if you have an idea and you need someone to produce it, that is me. Like, I'm the person. And if you have an idea and you can't afford someone like me to produce it, but you need help with getting started, you need help with figuring out what's going on, like, that's also me. But that's my thing. So tonight, I wasn't trying to be on here for forever. I just wanted to come on here pretty quickly and just be like, hey, whatever that thing is, make sure you're committed to doing it. And like I said, if you got questions, hit me up now. If you don't have questions now, you're going to have to hit that Calendly link or wait till the next time that I go live, which, like I said, I'm going to try to do it once a month. Sure. No, not sure. I'm going to actually do it once a month. And I'll have something to talk about, or I'll bring people on with me. We'll do it together, whatever the case is. But I just want you all to know, as a community, I'm here for the creatives, the entrepreneurs that are trying to grind it out and make it happen, right? Like, a lot of times, you just need an idea. You need a second opinion. You need somebody who's done this before. You need someone who's done something similar that can lend their perspective to help you out in a way that you might not have considered, right? For example, like when it comes to social media, like sometimes you think that post is gonna hit, but if somebody else looks at it, you'd be like, oh, this is probably why it didn't hit, because no one knows what you're talking about, because you started at, number spot 5 out of 10 and you didn't lead us between 0 to 5, you know, stuff like that, right? So a lot of times you just need a creative consultant. Like, so that's who I am. I'm your consultant. So if you are somebody who's like, should I go on tour? Maybe, maybe not. Like, do you think you can fit 50 people in every city? Do you have a sponsor? If you don't, then you probably need to do a show of your own. And here's the thing with shows of your own. This is what I also tell people. They don't have to be super produced. We feel that way because the shows that we see and we're inundated with are these amazing shows, right? Like Usher's residency in Vegas. He had the huge LED wall from ceiling to floor. He had skates, he had platforms, he had lights, he had scenes, he had plenty of dancers, he had background singers, he had a full band. If you're just starting out, you probably don't have that. If you do have that starting out, you're much better than the rest of us. More power to you. Or you got some money, or you got whatever. Work with what you have. Like, how can you get on the stage and just sing? So that one, people are not just connecting you to a show, but they're connecting you as an artist. Because here's the other thing. A lot of the people who have money to sponsor things and a lot of people who have money to make decisions aren't necessarily the most creative people. Okay, cool. I saw your question. They're not necessarily the most always, right? Sometimes there are. So when you have somebody who is in charge of something and you have somebody who is, you know, like a decision maker, you have to show them where their money is going. So if all they see, and I'm telling you this because I used to be this way. Now I'm definitely a lot more like my brain thinks natively now. But I've sat with people who have said, "Oh, I do is these huge shows. I never do this at my church, my charity event, my frat event, my party, my kid's birthday party, my stream, whatever the case is." So if people can't see you besides all the lights and the cameras and action in the show, then they don't really know what art they're investing in. You know what I'm saying? Like, so people, it's almost better in the beginning to start off stripped back. So people, this person does whatever. This to bring on a whole lot of other people to have a show, right? When I first did Holy Hoodlum, and it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed Holy Hoodlum the first time. I would do that again at some point, right? Again, somebody find me some money and a sponsor, but I'm gonna do something like it. But one thing I noticed is that I pulled in a whole lot of resources and a lot of other artists, a lot of other collaborators. They were all worth it, but it's still because like people are trying to figure out who I am and who and what I'm producing. Like people don't necessarily have like the what's the word like the context for who I am still, right? So it's almost better to have had that happen in like year 5 or 6, and so instead like I'm kind of going backwards with all my events in a way. Like I started off with a whole bunch of collaborators and big panels and stuff like that, and now I'm kind of scaling it back. I'm showing like who is Justin, what can Justin actually tell you, because someone told me that they know me personally, but they were like, the people who come to your events probably don't know how smart you are and don't know how well you are or how good how good you are at solving problems, how experienced you are with things, because when people come to your events, you have other people on the stage. You have them tell their stories, them tell their situations or whatever. So consider it when you're first starting off, like focus on presenting yourself. It's nothing, there's no issue with like collaborations, there's no issue with other people, like I'm not saying that whatsoever. But just make sure that you are focusing like focusing on you, making sure that you are essentially I don't want to say like the star of your show, but like kind of the star of your show, because otherwise like there's, I won't say like people just won't know, but people may just not know. So one of the questions I saw on Instagram is, how do you stay strong in the valley of creativity? Well, here's the thing. I could tell you now. I'm gonna tell you a little bit now, or you could come to the Create as Well Presents the Valley Experience on Saturday, February 1st. So, but at 7 p.m. So it is a show that I am putting forth with, like I said, the Create as Well. When it first began, it started as an in-person event in 2022, and then in 2024 it was another in-person event, and then at the end of 2024 I launched the podcast. I launched the podcast because there are creatives outside of the Woodbridge, Stafford, Fredericksburg, DC ish area, right? Richmond, whatever. There are people outside of this area that need to have the same, um, I guess, information poured into them, the same spiritual outpour, all of the things. So like we can do that podcast style. But I also have in person events for people to be able to come together, because part of the issue with, I'll talk about this, with the part of the issue with the valley of creativity, or the valley of the lack of creativity, is you feel isolated. So one of the things we're going to talk about is the myth of isolation. So like, it's not that you're not isolated, it's just that there is somebody out there that is willing to be in your corner. There is somebody out there that is willing to partner with you. There's somebody out there that's willing to hear you. And if nobody else is willing, you have a triune God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit that's there to be with you while you're in that valley. Another thing I would say, and like I said, we're going to talk about this a lot more at the event. But great question, because not sure. Well, you'll probably be there, but other people may not be there. The people who are, I saw a couple people from some different states. One of the other things in the valley is it's a really a good place to learn who you are. It's hard to know who you are on the mountaintop, and I think people don't expect that to be true. You really learn yourself in the valley, because on the mountaintop you've got a whole bunch of other things. Like even on a legitimate mountaintop, you've got less air, right? So you're not even in the right headspace. You've got like tiredness from the climb. You've got all these situations. But when you're in a valley, you're in a level place. You're at a decent playing field. No matter how negative or how bad the situations around you are, that's really where you find yourself. And we're going to go through like examples in my life. Like I said, don't want to go through it all tonight, whole lot of time tonight. But like in the valley, when you feel like there's no creativity, that's a good way, one, to find other sources. So a lot of times our issue is that we get to this point where we feel like our creativity can only come from a certain source. And that could be like TV, that could be movies, that could be music, that could be whatever. But ultimately, that source, that resource really, is going to run out, right? So I know for me, like there are certain artists that I feel like are really creative, and so when I hear their music, it's like it's good. Like I'm excited about it. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. Like this inspires me to write my own music. This inspired me to do an event based upon this. This does that. Well, what happens if that artist goes to their own valley and they're no longer producing, right? Like a lot of people depended upon a certain worship group during the pandemic to get them through, right? And that's cool. That's totally fine. But as the pandemic went on, as they went on their own life situations, they kind of broke apart a little bit. Members left, like different things. So if you're dependent on that as a resource, like you're no longer gonna have your ability to pull from that. So one, the biggest thing, find your source, which is God, but ask God to show you the other resources, because the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. So there's creativity everywhere. There are things everywhere that you're just probably seeing that we're not seeing. And like I said, I have a whole like interactive because I'm not gonna talk all night that night either, because I'm not doing that. But we're gonna do like a whole interactive thing of just like walking through what to do when you're in the valley. Easier said than done. Been there, done that. Like was feeling that way at the end of 2024. I made a post in November that I didn't even know. Like I ran into it today, and I was like, "Oh, I probably made that for now." But yes, and it's also temporary, right? Like everything is seasonal. So when you have those down moments, figuring out what things that you can do in your life to prevent those down moments from being like eternal or really messing you up in a way. Um, Fully believe that will the event be streamed? The event will not be streamed because again, budget. Thank you so much. What I will do is there will for sure be clips and recaps on social media afterwards, but I'm pretty sure that this time I'll just put the entire thing on my YouTube page. So for those, I saw that you're in Connecticut. Obviously, you're probably not going to make it unless you want to, um, but you're probably not going to be able to make it. So it's not capable to be streamed at this point, or at least I put it this way: it's not capable to be streamed in the way that I would want it to be streamed. Like I would want it to look a certain way. So like kind of going back to the original thing, not letting excuses or not letting things stop you from doing stuff. So like if you're doing your first couple events, if you're just trying to get it out there, sometimes you will just have one angle in an iPhone that you just connect and you just go YouTube. Well, you can't do that unless you have a certain amount of followers. But Facebook Live on your phone, or you record it and you post it, right? For Carols for a Cause this past December, I just recorded it on my phone, right? Nobody pays to come to Carols for a Cause because it's a charity event, right? And I have no issue with that. I designed it. I set it up that way, so I can't be mad at myself for that. But that means that I don't have any revenue coming in because again, I don't have sponsors. So because I don't have sponsors, because I don't have revenue coming in, I cut down on my expenses. But that doesn't mean I don't want people to not be able to see it or participate in the joy, because we have a lot of fun at Carols for a Cause, right? We play games, we act a fool. It's just a good time. So I just put a phone tripod up, hit record. It was not really the best quality video, but it was up there and still posted it, right? This situation, because of the way we're recording it, especially part of it will be part of the podcast. I just want it to be edited and shown a little bit differently. But I appreciate you for wanting to know if it would be streamed. Maybe one day I can come to Connecticut and we can do something there. That would be really cool. Um, Actually, that would be really cool. And one of my goals is to do a show or an event in another city this year. I don't know where it's gonna be. I really have no plan for it whatsoever, because everything I've only done is at home because that's where I can afford because I live here. So when I'm done with the show, I go home. I don't go to a hotel. I don't really do anything else. I'm like, all right, pack it up, go home, leave the church, go back home. But hopefully one day, not necessarily hopefully because hope is not a plan, as a wise production manager always tells me, um, there will be somewhere or something that's, or not somewhere, there will be somewhere this year that I will go. I don't know where it's going to be. Maybe it's Connecticut. Who knows? Maybe we can partner. Hit me up. I don't know. Don't really know. I have no plans for that, but I do plan to do an event somewhere else. So, um, that's really that. So, like I said, don't want to spend a million hours of your time, but you're not doing anything else on this Friday night because most places it's snowing or it's very cold. So we don't really go outside when it's that weather because, that's just it. So I figured, in honor of it being National Quitting Day, let me honor my goal to myself to go live on social media once a month just to share back and to give back for free as well. Like I said, if you want more in depth and if you want us to go deeper into something or whatever the case is, feel free to go to my link and Calendly. Um, Rainika says Atlanta. Sure. If can we all stay at your house? Can the entire team stay at your house? Like, yeah, Atlanta would be cool. Atlanta probably would be cool. And to be honest, as far as cities go, if I would be honest, the cities I would like to go to would be Richmond, Atlanta, Philly, or Dallas. Like those are the places that I would want to go. Um, I just think that would be fun. I think there would be cool places. I think the creative scene in Dallas and Atlanta is amazing. Richmond is actually my hometown, so I always feel like I should do something there. I lived there for 7 years, the first 7 years of my life here in Stafford, which was like high school and onward. But the creative something that I'm always like kind of watching and things. So, and Atlanta's just, and the lemon pepper wings are great. But it is hot, so hot and muggy. So we'd have to do that in the fall for sure. And like by fall, I mean like November or December, because I did an event in October of this past year in Atlanta, and it was 80 something degrees, and I just felt like that wasn't necessary. So um, it was rather disgusting actually. So like I said, whatever you need, hit me up. I will do these about once a month. Just getting on live just to share whatever kind of comes up. But like I said, this week it's all been about creating opportunities, or the lack thereof. I think a lot of times creatives feel like we have to, like, someone's going to book us in order for us to do something. Somebody's going to come give us our big break, and that does happen at times. But the moral of tonight's live and situation has just been make your own opportunities. Don't make excuses. That's a, I should make that a shirt. Don't make excuses, make up. You might see that at the show at this point, because as I tell our production director, I'm gonna get her on here one day, because I'm gonna have, first of all, I'm gonna have my mom, because I just think that'll be really funny. But we're gonna have 50, who is better known as the Sage Lomax, Mrs. Sage Lomax, but most people know her as 50. I'm gonna have her on this live because she has a lot to say about me and my budgets or my randomness, and like sometimes I'll just like show up and she's like, I've never seen that shirt before, and I'm like, oh yeah, I designed it last week. I just printed like 10 of them. So yeah, so I might make that. If I remember, I will probably make that. So yes, the last thing I will do is advertise, as anybody should do. The Create as well. It is happening, like I said earlier, on Saturday, February 1st at 7 p.m. The information is not really on this flyer. But you can go to Eventbrite and search The Create as Well presents the Valley Experience. But if you are you're probably, well, you're watching this on social media. So if you're on my Instagram, go Facebook, I've posted it times, the link on there. So if you are a Christian creative, or even just a Christian, I think one of the things often is that it may not be directly for you, but it's going to be something to benefit somebody in your life. Like, somebody who is creative, or a business owner, or a visionary, or you yourself might be that person and you just haven't realized it yet. Coming to things like this, and I will toot my horn a little bit. I've had a couple people that have come in the first couple iterations that I've done, and then they were like, I could do that. I could do a creative career. I could dabble in that. I could see a little bit more about that. So like, you never really know what you can discover and uncover until you get in the room. So even if you say like, man, I'm not really a creative, or here's my favorite one. I haven't done anything creative in a long time. There's no time limit on your creativity. This is where it gets a little preachy, and I have to stop myself a little bit. We serve God Almighty, who is the author and finisher of our faith. He is God. He is the one who was, who is, and is to come. He is eternal. So he exists outside of time. So a lot of times when creatives tell me like, I haven't been creative in a while, I haven't done anything like this in a while, like I don't, they start talking about, and I've done this myself, so I feel confident to talk about this. But creators will be like, I haven't done something creative in a long time. I'm not even a creative anymore. I'm not creative. One, the gifts of God are without repentance. Two, his ways are above our ways, and his timing, that includes timing. So like, yeah, you might have been dormant in a season, but eventually, like, if you're not dead, you will blossom again. Like, for everything there is a season, there is a time. So more encouragement, if you are a creative who's on the fence, you should come. If you feel like you haven't done it, you should done anything creative or worthy of being a creative, come. Because guess what? You just being here, you could be poured into. You never know like what's gonna happen. You never know like who will like who will benefit from you being there, or if you'll benefit from being there with somebody else. Like you just never know what'll happen until you get into the room. Um, so I said I was going to close like several times now, and I feel like, again, a Baptist preacher who tells you they're going to close and then they don't close, and they're going to close and then they're not going to close. But this time I am going to close. So your final announcements. Saturday, February 1st, come to the Create as Well presents the Valley Experience. We're talking all about the Valley. It's really based upon Psalm 23. And there are some supporting scriptures, some supporting things. There's going to be fun. But while we're there, we're actually going to do an interactive escape room. So I haven't really told people a lot what's going to happen there. because I kind of decide as I go along. I've had this idea for a while and I wasn't really going to try it because I was like, how's that going to work? I still don't know how it's going to work. But we're going to do an interactive escape room because the Valley of the Shadow of Death, like you kind of feel like you're trapped. So we're going to get out of it together. So it's going to be interactive. How's it going to be interactive? I don't know. But we've got that. We've got live music. The band is amazing as usual. If Clay or Ethan or Mario or Deshaun are here, like they are amazing. They are more than solid. The I wrote a new song. I've just been writing songs lately, and I've been doing that most of my life, honestly. But I'm just at the point where I'll actually release them. And before anybody asks, no, it's not going on iTunes or Apple Music anytime soon because I just haven't gotten to that point yet. Just getting to the point where I'll do it in front of people. We're just gonna do baby steps. We got live music. We're gonna do a podcast style conversation like this. It also will be live. Like it also will be interactive, is what I mean. So think more like Steve Harvey show, I guess, like pulling people on the audience. Like I want people to talk with me. We're gonna talk about your story. We're gonna talk about testimonies and the various valleys that we go through. And then a really fun pre-show. So it is the first day of Black History Month. So we will be celebrating Black History Month through our pre-show. And there's this game I've been working on. It's an original game. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that goes on in this mind of mine. But it's an original game I've been working on. Even if that doesn't happen, we're just going to have like some Black AF moments. And if anybody knows, Black AF is Black and Flourishing. It's part of the merch line. So yeah, so there's a lot happening throughout the event. Come on out. Right now, tickets are $25. And if you pay the $45 tickets at this point, you actually get a headshot with that. So one thing I did last year is I want to make sure that people leave my events, like, besides just inspiration, which is great, I want people to actually leave with something. So if you pay the price, you can get a headshot from Micah of Servant Studios. Last year, they came out amazing. The people who took advantage of that offer, I would love if more people did it. And we'll also have a conversation with me, Jazir, and Jasmine. Jazir and Jasmine are coming to do spoken word and poetry. And so they'll do that during the show, but we'll have a chance that, like, if you're a writer, if you're a poet, if you're a blogger, you can speak to them directly in a way that you won't get to do during the show, because during the show, they're just performing. They won't necessarily be talking unless I call them up on the stage, which, you know, I might do. So, yes, so that's that. I'm finally done now, for real, because we are doing this Daniel fast, and my Red Robin Impossible Burger, which I really wish it was beef with the bacon on it, is sitting here getting cold. And that's half the reason that we were late, because it was supposed to be here by 6:30, and then Uber Eats got it here like 7:45. So I just whole lots of things, but we're here. We're doing what we said. We are creatives in motion. That's what we're doing. I hope to see you on Saturday, February 1st. If you're not local, just come anyway. But if you're not, follow, like, comment, share, subscribe, blah, blah. Subscribe to the YouTube channel where you can see the podcast where we talk about things like this all the time. And if you're somebody who wants to be on the podcast and wants to talk, I will do that as well. Like, we've had some pretty cool people so far on it. And another interview I just remembered I need to schedule. So, anyway, now I'm going to go eat, and I will talk